It's another Formula One show. Today, we're going to be doing a review of the Belgian Grand Prix that ended today with Oscar Piastri winning the race. And with me to do that is Mustafa Jinod. You guys are welcome to another Formula One show.
You guys, as in me, yeah, I'm welcome. Well, anyway, so let's get started with what we've been saying about Norris ever since. Norris is brilliant. He can always find a great lap here and there. He can always even have a great race here and there. But I've always said he's not a complete driver to the point of it being a negative for him. Nobody's absolutely complete, but he has too many boxes to check when it comes to racecraft, when it comes to track awareness, when it comes to strategy. And at the same time, he does have a problem, which may not be totally his fault. It's not a mind problem, but he still suffers with high speed corners, especially pushing it to the limit. Now, I'm going to start with some points in queue for about how he struggles. He struggled in the first qualifying with it, making mistakes, but he managed to have a great qualifying lap against Piastri yesterday. That's just one race. But in this race, forget about racecraft. Let's look at the last couple of laps when he was closing in on Piastri. At one point, he could have gotten down to about 4 seconds or so, but he had three mistakes, which cost him about 5.6 seconds overall. Do you have those corners where he made the mistakes and the time he lost on each one?
Oh, yeah, in lap 26 at turn 10, he carried too much speed into the turn, and it was fast and sweeping downhill. He should have applied a little bit more discretion, but he ran wide into the exit curb and touched the Astro soft. So he lost about 1.2 seconds here.
Yeah,
And again, he locked up at lap 34. He locked up his front right tire, breaking into turn one. And basically the lockup caused him to run slightly deep. This compromised his exit speed as well. He lost about 0.7 seconds also here, and he couldn't
yeah,
gain DRS range of Piastri. And then
yeah,
you go to lap 40. He got stuck behind the back marker of Hajar. He lost another zero point 0.8 seconds there. So it was a comedy of errors, typical Lando Norris buckling under pressure. And that's the
yeah.
difference between him and Piastri. Piastri thrives when the stakes are high and when the pressure is much. But Lando Norris seems to falter and make mistakes when the stakes are high. So this
Yeah,
just
no,
in a nutshell the difference between the two drivers. And you're
yeah, and
never
he
going to
lost
win
his
the
race.
championship if you're
No,
driving
no,
that
you're
way.
not. Our friend Johnny, who's a Piastri, who's a Norris friend, keeps saying Norris is this and that. Norris is not consistent. We know he's brilliant, and he lost what you just mentioned. He lost a good 3 to 3.5 seconds, almost 4 seconds in errors later in the race. Okay, now that's not to say that he would have won because he lost by 4 seconds, but it's to say that it would have been very close and he would have been able to put pressure on Piastri, but he faded away. Now all of this after he made a brilliant decision to go on hard tires after Piastri went on mediums, so he could go one stop. It was to the point where Piastri would have to hold on and suffer from tire deg. So he had an opportunity to beat Piastri, closing in on him, tire deg, but then he made those mistakes. Now, also another mistake he made was pitting a lap later than Piastri. He should have
Yeah.
pit early and got on the hard tires. All of these things make a difference. I'm not saying that he would have beaten Piastri, but it would have been a lot closer, and Piastri may have crumbled because we know that when Norris is getting close to Piastri, a lot of times Piastri then starts to wear his tires out more. But he gave Piastri enough
Yes.
space, so he made that mistake. Now let's talk about the royal mistake, getting past at the beginning. I know that there's a slipstream on that track that Piastri used to pass him, but once again, if you're going to be a great driver and you want to be a champion, you can't let people pass you when you've got a pole position, especially since he got lucky where he didn't have to come off the line in the rain.
Yeah.
That's a story for another day. All he had to do was maintain it. He felt like cars after, was it the first lap? Wasn't it the first lap that Piastri passed him on the restart? So a lot of people will say that it happened because of a slipstream. Verstappen did it to Piastri the day before, but I'm not so sure. I think he just had a problem, and I think he just had no feel for grip because he was panicking during the safety car. He was like, "Let's go more laps. Let's go more laps. The conditions aren't good." And Verstappen was like, "Let's go." So it was clear he was nervous. He was afraid because he was asking for more safety car laps. During a situation like that, you have to become hard and say, "Whatever it will be, it will be," because Piastri took Piastri made a risky pass on it. Piastri was all or nothing because he knows that forget about team orders, forget about if I crash into you, no problem. I'm not going to let my teammate beat me. Piastri was very aggressive on the restart. passed him in wet conditions using the toe or whether it wasn't using the toe, but it shows you a difference in both of their mindsets. What are your thoughts on that pass that Piastri made at the beginning of the race?
Yeah, it was a brilliant pass, and I was a bit nervous myself too because it was very daring, and there was the angle of elevation of that hill was quite steep, but nonetheless, it was 0 or 1 for Piastri. He launched the pass and he made it expertly, and so that's just the difference between Piastri and Norris. He was bold enough to make that pass. He could have just skidded off, the track, but he was able to take that risk. And you could hear Norris moaning, at the end of the day, that people are complaining about his errors and stuff. He should look himself in the mirror and really complain about his racecraft. Not good enough at all.
No, he doesn't have racecraft because I was talking to one of my friends and they were like, I said Norris was complaining that his battery died out at the start. I don't think it did die out, or his battery lost power. And I was like, how did your battery lose power? Did you put too much were you overheating when you were trying to warm up for it? So there's always a question. I don't think his battery lost power, but if it did, it's still on him because he needs to know how to deal with these restart situations with a rolling start. He needs to deal with them. There will be no excuses. And once again, he has too many mistakes. Another mistake again, stopping a lap after Piastri.
Yeah.
Now he stopped a lap after and put on the hards. That's one lap he lost. If he had stopped with Piastri, put on hards, Piastri put on a softer tire. Piastri's tires will be degrading, but he stayed out too long on that tire. A mini mistake, but when you add all these mini mistakes and those mistakes he made on the corners as a total, it blew his race because
Yeah,
he
it
should have been
cost
able.
him, it cost him about 3 seconds.
Yeah, and he lost by 4, but it was a relaxed 4 for Norris because he kept making mistakes. So in reality, he should have been right on the tail of Norris at the end of the race. But once again, he gives up the race. Now next week is going to be in Hungary, and I think it's
Hungry, yeah.
Hungary or something.
Hungaroring.
That track helps him. So it's a slow speed track. So I expect him to win, but he has no excuses. I still think Piastri is going to win overall this year because he
Yeah.
handles technical tracks better than Norris. Norris, he'll say that he pushed too hard because he was trying to catch Piastri at the end. That's why he made those mistakes. But it's no excuse. You have to stay calm and give yourself the best chance to win throughout the whole race. He doesn't know how to gauge himself. And once again, I think, like you said, racecraft. Racecraft takes so many things into account: how you defend, how you pass, what you do on restarts. Being aware of track position. He just doesn't have everything.
So he
Now
doesn't.
let's counter that to Leclerc, who did a brilliant job of keeping Verstappen at bay throughout the whole race. What are your last thoughts quickly about Leclerc? Verstappen drove well, Leclerc drove well, but you see the difference. Verstappen had chances to pass Leclerc, but Leclerc defended brilliantly. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Leclerc really surprised me. Really. He surprised me. P3 in qualifying, he was able to hold off Verstappen in the race, which is praiseworthy, really. His new
Yeah,
suspension upgrades, I think, improved his handling. And
yeah,
he's very good in adapting to changes, and his skill and upgrades in the car, shows that perhaps Ferrari might be trending upward in terms of trajectory.
yeah,
But there's still a gap between them and McLaren, basically. It was a very good race for Leclerc.
yeah. Racer of the day, driver of the day, Hamilton. All I have to say is it's easy to drive well when there's no pressure on
Yeah,
you.
sure. Absolutely.
When you go
Absolutely.
16th, it's easy to. When you're 16th, you have nothing to lose. He drove well, but once again, before this weekend, I've written out memos to all the team management, memos on things we need to do. He needs to add to that memo on him not bottling it in qualifiers, or on him learning how to drive
Yeah.
ground effect cars, or pray to God next year that the new
Yeah.
changes will give him a car that he likes.
And now
Last
that
thoughts on
Ferrari
Hamilton.
is second in constructors, there may be not so much pressure on Vasseur now that they're second in constructors.
Yeah, nobody's talking about Vasseur anymore. I think Vasseur is okay. All right, Falabi, thank you very much. So we'll talk more. We'll do more on commentary on the race tomorrow. Oh, but very quickly, what do you think about them starting the race so late? Talking about they want to, and then doing safety laps over and over again. It messed up Verstappen's race because he had downforce for the rain.
It,
I think they
it's
were trying to find favorable conditions for Norris. To be honest with you, that's what I
I
think.
agree
What do
with
you
you.
think?
It's ridiculous. And I think the longer the rain went, the more nervous Norris got because
Yeah,
he felt he didn't stand a chance. But Russell in Mercedes-Benz was very, very hard on himself. He criticized himself,
yeah,
and the Mercedes setup altogether because these are conditions where Mercedes usually thrives, and they were poor today.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
And
I think, you know what I think?
yeah.
All this, go ahead, you go ahead.
Yeah, and then for Verstappen, I think race pace was lacking. I don't know what's going on, but it appears that with the sprint win, it appears that Merkel's reign started off with a bang. But with this performance, I think there's a lot of improving that needs to be done in Red Bull.
Yeah, the Red Bull car has improved, but it's clear that the McLarens are on another level, and even the rain gives them even more advantage because they have so much downforce and balance. Yeah,
Yes,
but yeah, I think what Norris was praying for was a 60 lap, a 40 lap safety car. That's what he was praying for, a
sure.
40 lap safety car. He basically
I'm
wanted
sure that
the
was
safety
what.
car. He was like, "Mommy, take me to school. Mommy, can you take me to school? Please, mommy, hold my hand. Take me to the seats, mommy. Mommy, can I sit down, mommy?" And then when the bell rings, "Mommy, take me home." He was hoping for that. That means he was
Yeah,
already lost the race before it started because he was telling them more laps, more, like Oliver
yeah.
Twist. All right, thank you. Once again, though, it's always entertaining. As much as I hate F1 now, all this talk about Verstappen moving to Mercedes, all that bullshit. Don't you think that shit took its toll on Mercedes too? Because they're not focusing on this season. All
Of
this
course.
talk about is Verstappen. All this
Of course, it's all about
clickbait.
where will Max Verstappen go to, and all the contract talks with George Russell. They seem to have lost focus. Absolutely, they are
But
distracted.
meanwhile, Verstappen is still focused. And I tell you, if all the cars are even next year, Verstappen will win. You
Of
get my
course,
point.
absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
All right, take us out.
Another brilliant show. We've been discussing Belgium Spa Francorchamps, and Hungaroring is next, and we'll be back sometime during the week to discuss that. From myself and Mustafa, we'll be back next time.
Nice one. Nice one. Thank you.